welcome to another edition of Our Sky Tonight at Home, where you get to enjoy a planetarium sky show from the comfort of your own home. I am Patrick Rowley here at the James E. Richmond Science Center in Charles County, Maryland, where I am inside of our empty dome theater planetarium. We miss seeing all of your faces here, but we want to keep you and our staff safe. So we get to do planetarium shows here all by myself, and you get to watch it from home. Tonight I have a lot in store for you. We'll be looking at a hibernating bear. We'll be looking at some other constellations, a sparkly star, a real life sparkly star. We'll even throw in some meteors, because why not? And we'll even look at a ghost, all right? A ghost, a real life ghost in the sky as well. All right, boo, scared ya, or maybe not. Anyway, we'll sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to let you know again is that this software that I'm using tonight is called Stellarium, and it's free software that you can download at home so that you can explore the night sky as well. I also wanted to remind you that just because our sky shows are online and virtual does not mean that we're not doing door prizes just like we would on site at the Science Center. So in order to enter for a door prize for the drawing, all you have to do is say a comment in the comment section here on Facebook Live. And that's how you're entered. You can say hi. You can say something that you thought was really cool. You could comment where you're watching from. That's really cool information to know as well. Any of those things and more, just comment and you're automatically entered for one of 3 door prizes from the gift shop at the Science Center. Now, we're going to start off tonight by looking, I'm just going to actually skip one day ahead to tomorrow evening and move the sky around here towards the eastern sky, and then allow our time to go forward a bit faster here. Let's actually back that up for just a second. We saw something kind of super duper whiz by really fast. So let's watch that again. Oh, too fast again. It's going by fast, I tell you. Let's back it up. There it is. This really bright spot we have right there. Any guesses as to what that is? I'm going to click on it. We're going to find out. So that is the International Space Station zipping by there. All right. So now, let's click off of that and go forward in time. So we're further into the evening, allowing the moon, the moon to rise here in the eastern sky. So there's our moon coming up there. We'll pause it there. And what we can see is our moon. And this, at this point, is a waning gibbous. The full moon, or harvest moon, was a few days ago. And speaking of the moon, really quick, I wanted to remind you that we have a free activity for you to download on our website, and that will be appearing in the comments. And that is a little flip book for you to see the phases of the moons. Kind of a neat little activity there. Especially for a spooky month, right? Spooky season here with the moon. So, now, relatively close to the moon, at least in the same general area of the sky, so it should be relatively easy to see. There's our moon, which is bright because it's a waning gibbous. And then up to the upper right here, we see Mars, all right? And Mars is going to look relatively bright compared to normal for a quick little brief period of time. Earth and Mars are closer than they have been in a while, since 2018, all right? Before that, the closest was in 2003, and that was the closest Mars had been in 60,000 years to Earth. And it won't beat that again until the year, let's see here, the year 2287. All right. Now, for us here, it's actually not going to be at night. We won't be able to see the moon. The Mars. It'll be around 10 o'clock in the morning on the 6th. All right. And so it's kind of not exactly where we'd be able to see it, but that's the time that Mars and Earth are specifically the closest they have been in a while. And they won't be that close again to this time until for another 15 years. In case you're interested in actual numbers, they're at 38.57 million miles away from each other, Mars and Earth, at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Okay, so now we're going to leave this section of the sky a bit and come around to the northern sky again. And pretty low on the horizon here, we see these really bright stars here. This tree is actually kind of hiding some of it. And that is part of Ursa Major, or which is also part of the Big Dipper. All right. Now let's go a little further into the evening, or actually maybe a little earlier. There, that will allow us to see it a little better. All right, and so that's our Ursa Major, also known as the Big Bear. Right. So as we go through the month, again, right now we're looking on October 6th. As we go further throughout the month, at the same time of the evening, right? One, it starts getting darker earlier, and you'll notice that because we're not changing the time here, just the day. So as we go further along into October and then into November, right, it gets really low on the horizon. Okay. In fact, some places in the U.S. that are further south, in the more deep south part of the U.S., would not be able to see the Big Dipper because it's too far below the horizon. Okay. Now, what's cool about this is we know that Ursa Major means Big Bear, and it kind of is a way to look at the Big Bear kind of hiding itself in the horizon for hibernation season. In fact, some in sky lore, right, for some native populations of southeast Canada, the celestial bear, as they called it, not just the big bear, the celestial bear, coming down to Earth like this symbolized the start of hibernation season. And in their stories, the stars that make up the tail of the bear, which bears don't really have long tails, so it's always been kind of odd that we have a long tail there, or the handle of the Big Dipper, right? Those stars there actually represented hunters chasing after the bear, all right? And they would catch the bear in the fall, and the dripping blood from the bear is what would color the autumn landscape, all the hues of reds and oranges with the leaves on the trees. So that was from the Big Bear going to hibernate. And it was a symbol that it was time for hibernation season amongst the wildlife, right? Now, let's get back to October. This is the October sky show, right? Okay, so if we come up this way a bit now, no, too much there. And we need to go further into the evening. So after midnight, is usually best in the early morning hours. Over here we have Betelgeuse, this really bright star, which is part of the constellation Orion. You can see Orion's belt with these really three bright stars there. And near that is the Orionids meteor shower, okay? And so we would be able to see that, those shooting stars, as we sometimes call them, in the night sky. After midnight, before sunrise is usually the best time to see that. And with this particular shower, we could see 10 to 15 meteors per hour if you're in a very dark location away from city lights and parking lot lights and things like that. Luckily, you'll notice there's no moon around. The crescent moon at this point has set, and so you don't have to worry about light pollution from the moon itself. So if you are in a dark location and it's not too cloudy, you should be able to see some of the Orionids meteor shower there. And this it peaks around the 20th. I'm on the 17th, so we can fast forward to the 20th. Around the 20th of the month would be when the peak of that would be. So in the early morning hours, again, after midnight, but before sunrise. Yes. Now, let's go back to Ursa Major here. Remember, that's also part of the Big Dipper. Go a little earlier in the evening. Too early. There we go. Let's go a little earlier in the month. There. Now we can see it. All right. So if we used the arc here of the Big Dipper, the handle, you can do what we have called star hopping, right? And arc our way over to the star here, Arcturus. All right. Arcturus. Now, and that is part of the constellation Bootes. All right. The herdsman. And it's hard to tell on the software here, but if you were to see it in the night sky in a dark location, Arcturus has a bit of an orange hue to it, or orange color. And it will sometimes, this time of year in the fall, October, November, look like it is kind of twinkling or sparkling more than some of the other stars. And so that's because it is so low here in the horizon, not far above the ground level here. And the Earth is round, right? And so there's more atmosphere, right? The air that surrounds the Earth, more atmosphere that the light from that star has to shine through before we see it with our eyes, right? And so when that happens, the light is refracted or split apart, right? And so it kind of looks like it's twinkling and has different colors. And there's a few stars out there like that, but Arcturus is especially noticeable this time of year, which is extra special because if we fast forward now all the way to the 31st, you might recognize that as Halloween, right? And so what I've done is we're looking at the sky. I've zoomed out a bit on the sky around 5 o'clock in the morning on Halloween, okay? And we're going to talk about that star Arcturus some more, okay? At this point, you can't see it hasn't risen above the sky, but we're going to call it the ghost of the summer sun, and there's a reason for that. So actually, let me go now back to summer. Remember summer when it was warm and we had really long days, nice summer days, right? I miss it. I love fall, but I miss the long days for sure. All right. So this is 5 o'clock in the morning or so on July 1st. All right. So we're going to go forward by about an hour at a time. Okay. Let's go back to exactly 5 o'clock. And go forward by about an hour at a time, okay? And watch what the sun does. Pay attention to where it rises. So it's rising right over here, okay? Right there. Goes across the sky, really high up in the sky. And it sets kind of just behind that tree over there, all right? Now, that's the sun. And I've traced out the line, or at least I'm going to try to trace out the line there, okay? Now, if we go back to Halloween, all right, now that we're out of summer, it's nice and fall. We've had some beautiful weather lately, all right? And go again back to around 5 o'clock in the morning. The sun doesn't rise quite as early now, all right? In fact, the sun is currently rising around 7:33 in the morning. On July 1st, it was 5:47 in the morning. And the sun is currently setting at 6:08 p.m. And back on July 1st, the sun set at 8:35 p.m. Okay? So this Arcturus star, which we see just above the horizon, I believe. No, that's not the right star. We'll get to the right one in just a second. There. So there's Arcturus right over there. And it's rising relatively close to where the sun was rising before. And we go forward. And it's high up in the sky. Now, during the day, of course, we can't see a star like Arcturus. We see the sun there, and it's now lower in the sky. This dot up here represents where Arcturus is, behind the light and the clouds and the atmosphere, right? And it's pretty on point with the sun, right? It's just higher up, kind of like the sun was in the summer, right? So it's kind of a representation of what the sun did back in July, this ghost of the summer sun, Arcturus. And as it gets dark, we can see the star now, and it sets now as well in the evening, about 2 hours after our current sun, in that same location behind the tree. All right. And so that is why it follows the same path as the sun, rising and setting at about the same time, representing those earlier sunrises, the later sunsets, those longer summer days. That's Arcturus, the ghost of the summer sun. Now, here's what's kind of cool about Arcturus, being that it's showing us on Halloween here, is that it is, like I said earlier, part of the Boötes constellation, right? And many of these constellations have a 3-letter code, and the 3-letter code for Boötes is BOO! So I hope you have a wonderful spooky season, a great fall, enjoy the weather, and don't forget to vote if you're eligible to vote. All right, so have a good evening, everybody. Bye.